talk that we are starting with the new idea with Nicoline together. I am Armenuhy, and we together with Nicoline, we will discuss interesting topics, and we will try to understand the two sides of the topics. So, Nicoline, it is very nice to see you and to start this series with you.
Yeah, hi. I'm also really excited. So really looking forward to sort of finding out ourselves, because it has been this great idea and today it's coming together. So nice.
Yeah, our meeting with Nicoline was very interesting. It was last year during pandemic, and I will start. And please, Nicoline, you continue the topic, because it is also interesting how we met. So we met during one of the online discussions, like conferences. It was about the emotional intelligence. And I came up with a question, and this question went viral by the help of Nicoline. So, Nicoline, please, you can tell how you picked this question, because the question was not answered during the online meeting, and what you did, it was great.
Yeah, it was really, I mean, it was so funny because, yeah, we didn't know each other at all. And we were sitting in this INSEAD thing where Hagen was really managing the webinar. And then all of a sudden there was this beautiful Armenian lady sort of popping up with a question. And the question was, if I remember well, like, okay, but I have a question to the men in the webinar. If you see a young female walking into a boardroom, yeah, what are your thoughts? And so there was this really very peculiar silence, with men ducking away from their screen. All of a sudden the video was gone, or the sound was bad. And then somebody answered, but totally not to your question. So that resonated with me after the webinar was gone. And so I contacted you and I said, let's put this question out into the world via LinkedIn. And so yeah, I wrote something about it, and then sort of we got a lot of reactions, also a lot from females, and then a couple of males that are very much into the topic, like Bruno Chevrolet and Dirk van Gerven, and so like, and so it was really funny to see how all of a sudden in the webinar sort of fell silent and by this one really to the point question. So, and I think, yeah, and so we got in contact, and it turns out that your question was not only a really good and to the point question, but yeah, it's behind that question is also a super nice lady. So here we are.
Thank you. Yeah, everything started from that question. And I will continue asking you questions, because
Okay. I will try to answer.
Yeah, I love questions that I am more about their answers. So the idea is started from one question, and we will have our two sides talks about some questions. So I am Armenuhy. I am from capital market industry already around 20 years. And I am passionate about finance, about capital markets, also with my different hobbies, photography, tango dancing, and reading. And Nicoline?
I'm Nicoline. I have like 30 years of career, mainly into like first half sale, marketing, and a lot of commercial roles, and then yeah, the last I think 15 years, or yeah, sort of 15 years, I've been CEO of different big and mid-sized companies.
I
My
saw.
hobbies are running. I run 10 kilometers per week to sort of clear my mind, and I play really amateur golf. Yeah, and you said passionate about. Yeah, I think for me, passionate about growing and therefore also transforming businesses, but especially also very passionate about mobilizing, energizing groups of people, and that is, I think, in professional life, but also in semi-private life.
Yeah, and this is true. So I am very inspired by you and the things that you are doing, and also the way that you broaden up the question how we met. So, but let's continue this this gender topic and male female questions. There are a lot, and now we are in a month that we are celebrating International Women's Day. We are doing a lot of activities about this. And today I have some questions related to women and finance, and mostly how women, how they are managing their financial decisions. Because it is obvious that there are differences between male and female approaches to the financial differences. And I would like to ask you certain questions, both related to the household finance management and corporate finance management by women. What is your attitude to this? Have you felt that women, they are doing different financial decisions, and based on what? So what is your first feeling in this?
I don't know whether it's really related to like women and men. I think there are probably differences, but for me, I think it's I think it's very much related to the way you are brought up in your family, especially if it is about household, or if it's about more your private life. Like how I think very often then your parents or your grandparents are more of a reference on how it is done at home, and then what is then the relationship that your sort of your home at that moment has with finances. Is it, do you have an easy life where there is a sufficient money and where money is maybe not a topic, so then also it's maybe less talked about? How do parents educate their children on I don't know, earning their weekly allowance, having to do some jobs to get some money, or is it just given to them? How do they need to manage their budgets? Do they get their clothes? Do they have to work for their clothes? Or I mean, it's and then I think if there is like, if you are raised in a family where money is an issue, then money is also a topic, and not only a topic because you are confronted with the fact that there is not always enough money, but also it'll maybe also a little bit it creates a little bit of fear of losing money. And so I think a little bit depending on the way you were raised, you have like, how shall I say it? I think a sort of a friendly or an unfriendly relationship with finance, and that goes really broad. Like, do your parents have shares? Do your parents have bought a house? Do they buy a car or lease a car? I mean, it's all concepts with which you are raised. Like, I'm raised with not a lot of money.
The same.
And my mother had to count to get through the months, and so yeah, it's like we never bought a house. So I now bought a house, but really very late in my life, like I think 8 years ago, which is late in general. But if I then compare it to people I have around me, is they buy houses, they help their children, they teach their children on managing budgets. So yeah, I think it's also a little bit more related to the way you are raised and your situation. And my parents were divorced. Other parents are maybe, I don't know, you lose a parent, or somebody loses a job, or so. I think your environment in which you are raised determines, I think, a little bit your relationship with finance. And because I know women that spend easy money, but I also know men that spend easy money. I know, yeah. So I don't know whether it's different, but I think in general, it's probably true that if you have more of a classical upbringing, that women are probably more doing the household finance versus the men, or the split between like the taking care of the family and the food and whatever, and then the other decisions maybe. But I don't know whether it will still be with the generations to come, because if I see the younger people, they stay home longer, or they live alone longer, or so I think it's more with how you are raised than maybe with gender. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, no one knows, I think. But putting together these parts, that the first thing is coming social economic situation, and it is a family, and then it is coming the education, how the financial literacy in general is growing in a country, in a family, what kind of heritage they have, whether they are needing money or not. But let's put these pieces together. Now we have them together, but let's put them separately. What do you think? Is there different ways that you gave, for example, in a family there are different genders, so male and female, like boys and girls. If we give the same information, the same, like say, financial literacy thing to our children, are they taking this equally? Are they thinking, what is the way of thinking of the boys and girls? Because you told that there are men who are spending, like wasting money, and women also, but are they wasting the same way? What is the I am going to put this into the emotional part, into some other parts of the decision making. What do you think, based on the same ground, are there differences in household management? If there are men is managing the household, what kind of decisions are they making in this, or whether to buy a house or to lease it, or to rent it, or and how women they are thinking? It is better to buy the house and have their own, or I don't know. So it is really interesting for me from your side. What do you think? How based on the same ground, what is the difference between female and male
Ooh.
decisions?
Yeah, I'm always scared to sort of fall into general statements. But I would say that I think maybe female tend to be a little bit create a little bit more buffer for sort of like yeah, when we need it. So I think if you would yeah, if you would give 100 euros or dollars to I think in general, and because yeah, it's always difficult to say, I think they would tend to save a little bit better or have a little bit of buffer in case of, or so I think they are maybe a little bit more long term. And then reflecting on, yeah, what could happen in the future and how can I protect my family or myself. But again, yeah, really in a general situation. But yeah, and then it also depends, I think, if you have children, probably the priority will be that your children are okay, and then maybe next to that, yeah, the parents are important. But if you are alone and you are not in a relationship, yeah, then it's probably more about you. And you also have bigger costs, so you have to take care of yourself double. But it will probably also be yeah, more about yourself. So yeah,
I got your
yeah.
points. Yeah, I got your points, and here it is coming to the point that in financial education we need to show different scenarios to them whom we are educating. So the scenario of being alone, or being in a society, in some group, or I think the point is that we need always to think that we are like one person, and we need to manage our own finance. Like, and when it is coming to the family, we need to shift some of our skills to do this together with other with other people around us. This is about personal finance. And what about corporate finance? You have a great experience and a long year experience in managerial positions. You were CEO. And have you noticed the difference in making financial decisions between female and male? I know that I'm asking the like
yeah, you are
question,
forcing me to sort of yeah, I think the biggest difference is that it's and I that in a way it also depends on the sort of company you're running. I have been in big corporate companies where money and budget is not your money, and I've been in a smaller enterprise where the money was the money of the owner, and so it was his professional wallet and partly my professional wallet. And so that means that that's different, because when there is no money, it will have to come from the people that are running the business. And if there is no money in the corporate business, yeah, it just comes from a sort of an anonymous shareholder. And yeah, I have always I've always treated money like it was mine. But I think that it's probably not always done. And I think then in general, the thing of gender, and that's maybe not necessarily like female male, but maybe more a feminine way of looking at things, and a male, because I also know females that are really have a male perspective. Yeah, I think the long term, the making sort of decisions that you reflect upon more, what the impact of a decision is, not only at that moment in time, but also in the long run. How yeah, how decisions can influence the sustainability of the company, that you do not have to all of a sudden throw out 150 people because all of a sudden your finances are no longer correct or something. So I think from the feminine way of looking, I think it's more about sustainability, about long-term, about yeah, thinking further than your short-term bonus scheme. I think the feminine look at it, I think we tend to put aside sometimes our own bonus scheme for the long term of the company, and I don't know whether the male look at it would do the same.
This is the point. I think this is the right. There are two very important things that you mentioned, and it is interesting that I got an answer to my question, question from the beginning. So the first one, it is now I will remember this for all my life. So it is not about male and female, but it is about feminine and masculine way of thinking. And both women, they can think both feminine and masculine, and the same from the other side. So it is the way of thinking, but not the gender. I will remember this because sometimes I also feel that I am thinking like not the feminine way, but the other. And this is the first point that that is really interesting, and I need to keep this in mind. And the second one that you mentioned, it is about the sustainability. That feminine way of thinking, it is more up to sustainability than the masculine way of thinking. This is also interesting, and based on the experience of how COVID, the pandemic was managed in countries, and the countries with female leaders, they had more efficient management of the pandemic rather than other countries. Thank you for these 2 points. I have the answer to my question. It is not the the answer how women are managing the finance, but I came to the point that feminine and masculine thinking, it's not about the gender, but it's about the person. For each person, they can have either feminine or masculine thinking. And in finance, feminine thinking brings to more sustainable development. Thank you.
And you
for
hope,
this.
and you hope that leaders have like a little bit the two brains, if I may say so, because of course, if you are in a COVID crisis, you would have to take rough decisions, and you're not always in a situation where you can have. But I think the long-term perspective is important.
Yeah. So the balance also is important.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering my questions. And do you have something to add as to finalize this first talk of two sides talk?
Well, I think you mentioned it already. I think in your, and I know it's also a passion of you, so I think I raise it here. I think financial literacy is also a very important topic. And I'm sure that we will talk on the two sides of that later on. But I think in terms of education, but also taking people along and explaining things will also help a lot, because when I look at a lot of young people, I find that they have little knowledge of basic finance, basic economics, and a sort of financial literacy. And therefore, it's also a way in which they can lose money or take bad decisions or get excited about, I don't know, shares, bitcoins, whatever, things that sort of look like very interesting. And so I think financial literacy is certainly something that also should be on the agenda in general, so that everybody can make reflected financial decisions, and especially in families where there is, yeah, you are on the border of poverty, or you want to get out of a particular situation. I think, yeah, in general, we're very particular for a very big group of especially young people. It would be good that they are educated much better on financial literacy and understanding better, yeah, how everything works actually, and how you can, yeah, how you stay yourself out of trouble actually. And that also helps, because it will help create better business people. When the people become entrepreneur, they will be better entrepreneurs. So I think maybe we have our topic for the next 2 sides of the story.
Yeah, that's great.
Of the 2 sides of the talk.
Two sides talks. Yeah, we have a next topic, and stay tuned with Armenuhy and Nicoline, two sides talks. It will be about financial literacy. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.